This is Open Mic Thursdays, the Memorial Day Weekend Recovery Show. Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, at Open Mic Thursdays, we like to cover all sorts of things. Our comedians, we have our musicians, and we also like to have special guests like our politicians that come into town and are in town and part of our local state government. And we have the great pleasure of talking to Mr. Reed Williams. Nice big round of applause for him, if you don't mind. He is running for city councilman for District 8, and he actually, correct me if I'm wrong, went to town on election day a couple of weeks ago, but he was neck to neck with another candidate, and there's going to be a runoff election starting, early voting starts June 1st through June 9th, and the election starts or is on June 13th. Did I get that right?
You got it right. You got it right.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is Reed Williams. It's so good to have you.
Well, it's great to be here.
Man, it feels like you have to do this all over again. I mean, we would think that it feels like, oh gosh, I wish I would have nailed it, but when it gets so close like that, explain why a runoff is necessary when the votes are so close.
Right. Well, you have to, in the first election, you'd have to get 50%, over 50% in one vote. And with 6 folks in the running the first time, it's mathematically almost impossible for one person to get 50%. The top 2, myself and the other fellow, got about 27% of the vote. So that's why we're in the runoff. And the other 4 that are not there, fortunately, have endorsed me. So I really appreciate that. Jody Sherrill and Jacob Dell and Melissa Martinez-Carrasco and Juan Dávila. So they're all really helping me, and I appreciate it.
That is very unusual to have all 4 candidates endorse you. That's really wonderful. Melissa Martinez-Carrasco is also one of our friends at Open Mic Thursdays. We had her on. Really, really brilliant woman. It's wonderful support to have her back you. Now, the other fellow that you mentioned is Michael Berlanga. How is your campaign and your ideas for this district in District 8 different from his?
Well, first of all, I was endorsed by the Sierra Club. Even though I've spent 33 years in the refining business, I'm very much an environmentalist. I'm very interested in controlled growth. We're going to have growth. District 8 is a growing district, but we certainly need to control it because we've got to protect our aquifer, we've got to protect Camp Bullis, and we've got to bring our roads along with our development, which we haven't done in the past.
Now, Diane Cibrian has spoke much about the traffic problem in our city. Do you echo those kinds of ideas?
Oh, absolutely. One of the problems that we've really had is that we've had an abundance of land. And so we would go build something and then say, bring a road to us. And then we build something else and say, bring another road. So we kind of patchworked our road system. So we've got to back up and turn it over. Places that aren't so bountiful of land have been more consistent in developing their transportation system and then building around that. We did it the other way around. And I think the citizens are beginning to realize that we're going to absolutely have to get us a good transportation plan and let that be the framework that we build around. So we don't have sprawl and we have good transportation. I mean, it's transportation from just sidewalks all the way up through bike paths as well as automobile ways. And, you know, we're going to need to eventually get some better mass transit in here. But it's going to take some time.
Do you think it's important for a new city councilman to go in with a very direct plan on how to spend money?
No, I don't. I think it's best that you go in with a plan on how to study to spend money. You've got to have a strategy. And as you know, the city council doesn't run the city. We don't fix the potholes. We don't police the streets.
A lot of people think that you do that.
Yeah, no, you don't. You authorize the funds and you set the direction, but you actually don't do the work. So as a city council person, it's like a board of directors. Instead of meeting 4 times a year, though, we meet every week. So it's a little different system, but in any decision, you've got to have the authority to make the decision as well as the ability to affect the decision after it's made. So the city council's job is to give authority and direction, and so you need to have a good thought about how you would approach the funding of our city.
Now, you call yourself an environmentalist. What brought you to the idea and to the decision that you wanted to run for office?
Well, last fall, it was the economy just dropping. It concerned me greatly. Our city has gone through a very tough time and will continue because the funding sources for the city are either stagnant or declining. Property taxes are not going up. Sales taxes are either flat or just slightly declining. And the funds that we get from CPSB, which supplies the large percent of of what we call the general fund are all either flat or going down, and so we're going to make sure that we have to balance our budget.
Now, I had the pleasure of speaking to your daughter, Kate, on the phone, on the cell phone, and she thought it was really cool that her dad was going to be on an internet talk show. Now, how have you had your family support during this exciting campaign experience?
I have. It's been tough for them in some respects because I'm gone a lot, and they're seeing me do things that they've never seen me do before.
Oh, you're like a rock star.
Well, like this show, right? I've never done an internet show before. They would never even believe I'm doing it. I probably couldn't even find it, but she can. So that's what's good. You got to appeal to everybody, and you got to get out there and do some things that's a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Speaking of being out of your comfort zone and having to please everybody, what is that like to have so many different constituents with different ideas who have different ideas of their own of how the district should be run and how the city should be run? How do you make it look, at least, that you're pleasing all these people?
Well, you don't. That's the answer. You just do what you think's right, and you try to explain, because in any time you're dealing with people, you've got to have mutual respect and trust, and if they trust you and they can develop some respect over time, and you're thoughtful on your decisions, and they'll give you the time to talk to you, then at least they'll know that you're trying to make the best decision. Someone that tries to please everyone, as they also say, pleases no one. So you've got to do what's the right thing, and as a retired person, this is not a job or a job on the way to a job. This is a public service, and you try to approach it that way.
What a wonderful seg, because I'd like to ask what your opinion is of Diane Cibrian, who is the current city council person for District 8. She went on from her first term as city council person to running for mayor recently. How do you feel about her administration, if you will, during this time period that she's been on city council? Would you have done things differently?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people. We block walk all the time. We spend a lot of time talking to homeowners associations. And so the best way to describe Diane's work is she was very effective on everything she focused on. She worked hard. She was very conscientious about it. I don't know Diane very well, and so most of what I know about what she did was from what I talked to people that she did stuff for. We're different, though. Diane had an ability to focus on something and get it done very quickly.
Absolutely.
I tend to look at the whole system and try to bring the whole thing along. So I think people, if I'm elected, will find me a bit more of a plotter than maybe not get things done as quickly. But I hope that I bring the whole district along and do as best I can for everyone. So I think we have different styles just in talking to her. But she has done a lot of things for the district. She has.